that I want to make that I finished this year. This first one is about homosexuality in the community of Aruba, because they don't talk much about it. I choose to talk but more with symbols, not with signs, not to use, not to, I say, to say the word literally what's happening. So then the next year, this one won the jury award at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, was in 2011. And after that, the next year, the following year, we made this one. It's called Awabrak. And here the subject was about sexual abuse. Oh, for the same one.
¿Qué más? ¿Qué me cuentas? ¿Para ti? ¿Estás?
It's this one. Yes. Oh, why it doesn't? Okay. Okay, I have to. Let me see. Put this back and. Close those one. Okay.
Mi tabata kiara hui, pero mina tabata sakong. Mi tata no tabata lagami sari. Mi mama tabata sa.
Okay. And I'm gonna show the one that we made. This one I cannot show all because this is officially selected to participate in the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival this year, and we submitted for the Urban Film Festival. Because they are streaming, I cannot show it completely.
Nostatico da Shell, o nome sea santificado, pero nos haga nos pan de cada día. No háganos caer en tentación, mas líbranos de turcos malos. Amén.
Stop! Bij de kamer. Bij de kamer.
Moet je die koeien voor het attenden?
La Carmi!
No.
Okay. That one, the subject is, I think you can see it, is about domestic violence. And all those 3 short films, I call them, empoderamiento is, the word is like sociología, studying the behavior of the human, and is part of the, I think, is part of the generation who was scarred from, that grew up in this environmental, about inside the house, they have to deal with domestic violence or incest, or that the parents don't understand them because they're gay, and they are confused with their sexual identity. So that is the whole concept, and I'm happy that this year I could make the 3rd part that will complete the idea of this this kind of film. I made other film because I always get people that let me say, viewers, of audience, that don't always understand my work. They find them too much, I say like, I use too much science, and I don't tell it literally. So they ask for me to do something that they can understand. So last year, of 2 years ago, I did a cultural film. It's like a musical, and the title is Aboso. And I took like the song of the father of culture of Aruba, Padu del Caribe, and I made the story around the songs. And so to give it a cultural feeling, and the audience loved the film. And this was my first film. That was 70 minutes, and a show at the film festival, and one at Aruba and at Belize Film Festival, but also got a theatrical release in Aruba. And yeah, what I want to do is continue to make film. I think this kind of film that I can make them only in short film, because I don't get the financial support to make them bigger, because I have another idea to make another, but I have to make it short. And film like Aboso, I can make them bigger because they're for a wider audience, and you get the financial support to do that. And this kind of film, you don't get the financial support. So I have, for me to finish my presentation, I have, because of all of this, I started an organization. It's called Fundación Sinaruba. And with Sinaruba, we want to stimulate film. We did all this kind of film, so people start doing films too. And now we are going to make a TV series so people can start doing this too. And the idea is, with Sinaruba, we want to create like a platform where everybody can come together, and in a collective way, they can collaborate to make films together. Because that is, I think, the most downside of trying to make film in Aruba, because you don't have the resource. We are very limited. But what we do is we take the resources that we have available, and we just try to be creative with them. Like Aboso, we did that because the resource was so limited that we had to be creative and trying to create with a little budget something big. So to see more about Aboso, you guys can go to abosofilm.com, and there you can see all those clips and images about the film. So I'm gonna finish my presentation, and thank you. there is any question? No? Hello. Yes? Yes. I had the opportunity when I went to Trinidad. I met like Storm. He did Better Must Come. And when I saw his film, I realized that his story was good. And he's from the Caribbean. And his film went all over the world. I can say that because he got a release in the United States. And then I realized that actually, no matter where you are, if you are here, you have to have good stories. And if you make it here, if it is in Papiamento, English subtitle, if it is good, they will see it all over the world. But still we have we need the resources because this limit a little bit the quality of the film. So you have to sacrifice, make a lot of sacrifice. For example, I go back to Abuso. We had to shoot the film in 10 days because we had only $20,000. So it was 10 days, and there were things that I want to go back and shoot them again, but there were no time, no more money, and so I had to live with it. But if we have more resources, like financial resource, but also I think more people that know this craft in Aruba, because for example, Aboso, we had a guy from Colombia that came with his own equipment that we couldn't find here, special equipment for making big movies, for audio system, mixer and everything. So he helped us. And then we had a guy from Miguel Galofres from Barcelona, but he's living in Trinidad. And he came and he helped us also to shoot it in 10 days. Because I think the issue is that people that do that also in Aruba, they have other responsibility because they need to work so they can get the money so they can survive. And they cannot do film as a work. They need to do this as a hobby. So they are available when they are free from work. But we needed like someone that are 10 days in a row available. So we had to ask someone from outside to help us. But I think in the future, because we have a lot of young people in Aruba that are going now outside, they are studying this. And I think in the future, we're gonna have more people that know and that want to do that, and then you're going to create that platform together to make something. Because I always say, like, for example, Aruba is like a playground, because when I went to the Netherlands, I cannot do anything that I want. I cannot go say, put my camera here, and I'm going to shoot all my scene. No, you need to ask permit, you need this, because they have all this system, regulation about filmmaking. You need to go some entity, organization to ask permit, to do this, to pay this, even in Spain. But here we don't have those kind of thing yet. So it's more like a playground, like you just take your camera and you go outside and shoot it. If the cops come, then you just say, I'm doing this, and then maybe they let you do it. But it's like you're more free to do it. And that's why you can create more. You have to be like creative and try to work it even without the resources. Yes. Okay. Any more questions? No? All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. But the problem is that they want to see in the back.
Because some of the images are really bled out.
Okay, then I'll leave it in the dark and try to stand in the light. That's why the microphone is here, so you can be in the light. by talking and not paying attention to the light. From Aruba to Barbados, we have Simone Asia, and give her a big applause to cheer her on.
Thank you. Hi, good night, everyone. My name, as you can see, is Simone Asia. I'm an artist from Barbados. I specialize in illustration, mainly pen and ink detail drawings. That light is really bright. Right. So I'm going to give you a little backstory. I think from a young age, probably from age 4, I was drawing, and I used to draw a lot of people. I think I had it embedded in my head that I wanted to be an artist, probably from that age too. Art was everything for me. It was kind of my escape. I attended the Barbados Community College, where I got my associate's degree in visual arts in 2008, and I got my bachelor's of fine arts in studio art in 2011. So when I left school, I went right into work. Right into work meaning I started drawing and continuing drawing. So I started this series. This series was about 2 things that I was heavily interested in. It was hair and architecture. In the Caribbean, some women have very elaborate hairstyles, and at that point in time as well, I was very interested in architecture. I did a lot of architectural photography, and I wanted to find a way to combine the 2 elements that I loved. Here in architecture, they're kind of similar. They are like structural. I see hairdressers kind of as architects. They build these elaborate structures on people's heads. So I thought it was a simple concept, but it worked. This one is PVC pipes interlocked. The women who have locks and they do the crazy hairstyles. The Parliament crown. This is Barbados's Parliament building. Pretty straightforward. And the lighthouse. Sorry if the image is really bled out. I guess it's too much light. Okay. So I'm going to talk about choice. I did that series for about a year, and those are just 3 out of the many drawings I did. The problem with that was lay her down in the air. I started to get a little unproductive. I realized my productivity slowed down a lot. So I got a job, a normal job, and I said, okay, I'll get income now and probably try to balance the art and the job. That, however, did not work out. It made me realize how important my art was. I actually could not do art. I had to strictly focus on my job. And eventually I got a little down about it. So I made the decision to there was a choice. You either do art full time, or you get a job and you try to infiltrate it. So the obvious answer was I chose art. I left my job a year. After a year I left my job on my vacation. And I said, okay, I'll continue the last series I did with the architecture, and everything will be perfect. It actually wasn't that way either. I almost felt obsolete. When I was trying to continue the series I left a year ago, I realized I actually could not produce work. I don't know if I had lost my skill. I got very depressed to the point that I was like, okay, I shouldn't do art anymore. It's a little hard to talk about because after this, I went into a very deep depression for about 3 months. And while I was depressed, I wrote a lot. And it only came down to the end of my depression. I decided to read my writings and see, just to reflect and see what was happening with me. Right, so this is where writing as a sketch comes in. The reason why I say that is when I reread my writing, I saw a lot of interesting things about myself, and I think I had the answer to everything. The series I did about the hair and architecture was about themes that I liked, but they weren't really connected to me, and I think that was the issue with my art. My art was done by me, but it wasn't of me. So I decided to kind of rethink everything and go back to square one and try to brainstorm through everything and all my experiences. I decided to write a lot after that, and then this newer series came about. This was actually the first drawing I did after I was very depressed. I could talk a bit about this. Those things at the back of the head there, Barbados has these structures. They hold water, they're water tanks. So I kind of still played with the last theme of the first series with the architecture, but I decided to make it a little more honest. When I was depressed, I cried probably every day for 3 months. To the point I wrote in my book, I was crying to the point that I could almost drown myself, and it seemed as though I didn't know where all this water was coming from inside of me. I thought I cried until I couldn't cry anymore, but I still had water left. So I decided to implement the water tanks and did the whole thing about my depression. All of the details that you see there, I think that was kind of like a purging, because I did this drawing in 2 days. It's about this big, and I did it in 2 days, and it was like 2 days, probably 11 hours a day, to the point that I did not break. I didn't really eat or anything. So I think this was the monumental piece for this series. Okay. Hi. This one is 22 by 30, but I've done work that was of maybe up to 7 feet. So we'll get into that. Right. This is the second piece. These are the beautiful minds. So after that drawing, I did a lot of writing. I still continue with the whole therapy of writing. So any experiences that I went through, I wrote about. So I saw my work kind of as visual manifestations of my emotions, and it was a response to everything that I was feeling and all my personal experiences. These were actually 2 friends of mine, and I loved their friendship together. They were very close, and I almost admired them. I kind of wanted to have a friendship like that as well. So I just, on impulse, did a drawing of them. Yes, this is My Life is a Trap. This was done right after that as well. Do y'all want me to explain this too? Or no? It's good? Yes? Okay, good. Right, I could talk about these drawings here. I did a residency in Ateliers, Trinidad. I did it around this time, actually, from the 18th of August till about, it was for a month, so till September. Ateliers really opened my eyes. That was my escape. I actually left Barbados. I said I would do it because I needed to find myself as an artist, and I needed to soul search. This series isn't quite resolved, but I think is one of those ongoing processes because it's very personal, and it's really about finding myself. So this one was entitled A Tribute to the Moon. There was no moon when I went to Trinidad. I am a nocturnal person. I love the moon. The moon gives me energy. The sun drains me. I'm sorry. Aruba is beautiful, but the sun just drains my energy. So yes, this was actually about me being drained as well, because Trinidad at that point, the first week, had no moon. I guess the moon was in its dark phases. Like, me and the moon, we're very similar. So we were in our dark phases together. So I decided to do this piece. The second piece I also did in Ateliers Yard. These are the things I couldn't ignore. These are about things that I saw in Ateliers Yard, Trinidad, that I could not ignore. Pretty straightforward. Right. Ateliers Yard also opened up another avenue for me, and that is wall drawings. I was not particularly comfortable with drawing on a wall, because in order to draw on a wall for me at that point, I had to use a looser medium, which is ink. I usually use pen and ink, but I control everything. With this, I couldn't control it. When I did a mark, it went all over the place, and that drove me crazy, because I am very obsessive. There's a reason why I do a lot of detail. I like to control everything. And this gave me a lot of stress. But surprisingly, I did it in 3 days. So yeah, just to get a size, to get an idea of scale, that's pretty big. It's pretty big. Okay. This is one I did this year, actually. The other ones before you saw, they were 2014, some of them. This is 2015. I have really bad sinuses. My sinuses bleed, and I have to go on a lot of medication for my allergies. I love spring. I love plants. I love flowers, but they hurt me. I just can't. So I almost feel as though I need like a gas mask or some respiratory system to help me get through the day. So yeah, the words are basically just manifestations of how I feel about certain things. Right, I did this one this year as well. Oh, it's very bled out. Sorry about that. You see things, you keep quiet about them, you understand. That was actually part of something I wrote as well. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Okay, cool. I did a residency in Fresh Milk. That was this year in May. That was actually in Barbados. And all of my devices got flooded. Like one day I had my iPad, my phones, my camera, everything, a water bottle, throwaway in it. All of them were destroyed. And it's funny though, because when I was younger, I used to sketch a lot. I found when I left school, and probably in 2014 more than anything, I did a lot of photography. I took pictures of everything and redrew them. I used to always say, I want to get back to drawing, I want to get back to sketching, but I never did it. I was too lazy, so I just decided, oh, I can take out a phone and click a picture and it's going to be good, and I'm saved. But they drowned, so that in that moment, in that week, I got more connected with nature. I love nature. It's actually one of my inspirations. And I decided to do this piece about me being waterlogged because all of my devices were flooded, but it was still a good thing because I was connected to nature in the end. So I kind of enjoyed this piece. That's a close-up of it. All right. I'm going to talk about the reason why I do detail and the reason why I connect images together. Because if you saw in my earlier images, you see that I like to connect everything and place them as one big image. Detail is something that happened at the end of my final year in studio art, my BFA program. I wasn't really into it at first, to be honest. I never did detail before that. I was actually a graphic designer before. I was more into graphics. I never drew like this. So when I got recommended to do the studio art program, I was a bit upset because I wanted to do graphic design. But I'm very thankful that I did it because I would not be at this stage right now. I kind of self-diagnosed myself as having OCD because I'm very obsessive. I obsessively think, I obsessively write, I obsessively talk about certain things, and if I'm very attached to something, I get hyper obsessive over it. So it's kind of a reflection of myself. There's also something that I believe in. I believe that with every artist, your work should be a reflection of yourself, and if it's almost like looking in a mirror. I want to look at my work, and I want it to be a mirror. So if I cannot see myself in my work, I don't want anything to do with it. But that's just me. Right, so the detail is more about testing my discipline and testing who I am as a person. The reason why I connect many images together as well, I am very insecure as a person. I'm going to be very honest about that. We all have insecurities, but I am super insecure. And also, I see myself as a broken person. My work, I tended to have an identity crisis. So, and I mean, that's normal because in the 20s is probably the worst time to live. Sorry to say. It's very hard. But it is. But the thing is, I'm so tortured. I'm a tortured soul. I connect these things together. It's almost like I'm subconsciously trying to put myself together because I see myself as this very broken individual. From small, I had issues. From teenage years, I had issues. I couldn't connect with people. I was very introverted. I'm still slightly introverted now, but I think I'm getting better. But yeah, that is like the details and the imagery being put together is pretty much a reflection of me trying to put myself together, and also it's kind of the way how thoughts actually process in my mind. I'm very random. I'm a random thinker as well. So these things are like how my brain works. Very scattered, very juxtaposed, but always interlinked. So it's pretty similar to me. We're getting somewhere. Right, that's just another detail. These are just detail shots of stuff I did. I actually do abstract work as well, but they don't have titles, and I didn't bring any today. This is actually a crop of one of them, I believe. This is a detail of one of them. But the abstract work is just to help me get back into the rhythm of being in a trance-like state and losing myself. That's another thing about my detail work. I actually have to be distracted to do work well, because if I sit down and I don't have a distraction, I tend to think too much about the next line. I kind of want to lose myself in the work. I don't have any concept of time, by the way. That's why I'm late for everything. I have no concept of time. And with the work, like a lot of people ask, how long did it take? I could estimate how long it takes, but I can't give you an exact answer because these are many hours within a day that I'm doing work. So sometimes I have no concept of time, no concept of anything. I just do work. Yeah, that's another detail. I'm sorry that these images are really flooded, but oh well. Right, the therapy thing. I kind of touched on that just now. Right, my work is therapy. With the series I'm doing now is very new, so forgive me if I don't have a whole load of images to show today. But with my art is self-discovery. So each day, each piece that I do, I find out a little bit about myself. And I hope in the end I tend to find enough to be more secure. Because I'm still secure and still fragile at this moment. So we just have to see where the work goes. Thank you. Any questions? No? Good? We're good? Aha. Yes, sir.
I really found your work, and I really like that you make a whole picture.
Yeah.
Within that, of course, like you said, your details. So
Right.
you tell people you busy with that thing for 11 hours or whatever.
Right.
I've seen your work, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of patience.
Right, it is testing my patience. I actually thought I was a pretty impatient person, actually. I get really agitated waiting on things, but I'm kind of a contradiction because I take long to do things, and then I do this type of work. So I'm kind of lying to people, pretty much. I apologize. Yes. Anyone else? Or, hi. Yeah. 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 Yeah, well, I was talking about it, and actually one of my colleagues here at, it was you, right? was talking about me actually doing them in a three-dimensional way, and they could see it. I'm not great at sculpture. I actually think I failed sculpture once in school, but it could be a collaboration as well. I was also thinking maybe I could do like wrapping buildings or wrapping cars, kind of like street art, but that is something I do want to explore later down in life as I get more comfortable to test myself. Yeah. Yeah. Is that it? Hi. Yeah. Very impulse. Like my work, the thing is, so the writing is mainly the sketch for me. I don't do preliminary drawings like one time. But if I happen to doodle a little sketch, it never ends up looking like the final thing, which I love because it's really about the process of the work rather than the end product. I find when people do a preliminary drawing, it's pretty much this is what I expect to get. But that is actually the whole point of self-discovery, finding your way throughout the work. So when you do that little preliminary drawing and it comes out completely different, I think that's the best thing. That shows development, that shows growth, that shows thinking. So yeah, I never really know what I'm doing. I think they're just impulsive, or if I listen to music, my hand just goes with the music probably. Yeah, that's it. No one? Okay, thank you very much.
Every night I hear more comments on this or that, and I think I have to thank you all, and I would never thank you enough for being here, for showing your work, because the other artists see it. It's a pity that each night we show beauties like this, that not all the local artists are here to see what you guys are showing and what you have been showing until now. As I said before, Aruba has no critics and the art has fallen into a comfort zone. I have to state that we have Joey Mastame working in Holland. Joey is a very great illustrator. And we have Rucho Marleisner working here. And it's a pity he's not here tonight, or he wasn't attending any of the workshops. So to see and so to learn more about what is happening in the Caribbean, and that's why we organized the Caribbean Linked. Not to connect you with Natusha and Leo representing Aruba, to connect you all to the all other artists working here on the island also. But tonight we have a huge attendance, and if you would have come every night, you would have seen the diverse amount of art pieces that has been shown here every night, from film to installation, from performance to the beautiful work of Simone Asia, if I say it good. And hopefully you can come the next days, like tomorrow and the 3 other days next week from Monday to Thursday. So please attend and tell your friends that there's something marvelous happening here. And if they don't realize it now, they will never realize it. Only I have a very specific criticism myself, and if you don't work on level, you can't come in. So if you don't upgrade your art here now, you can't work with me. And we will have more criticism. There are more things coming in Aruba, and each time something happens, you have to be very strong to hold on to it. So with you, Leo Aguirre, here at the Ateliers, and he made here one of, I think, most beautiful works. He's going to show us in a minute. With you, Leo Aguirre. And Ryan is ready.
Thank you all for coming out. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about my work, the process in which I work in, and what I've been doing since I left Aruba, and then maybe a little bit about what I'm going to be doing for this exhibition. So I'm from El Paso, Texas. That's where I'm born in the U.S. I'm the son of 2 Mexicans. So the films that I grew up watching are very different than the typical Hollywood film. My grandparents also raised me for a while, and they love watching Westerns. They love watching old Mexican films. Gabriel Figueroa is a huge influence of mine. So on that note, I'll start and incorporate all of that. All right, so this is a shot of El Paso. It's beautiful desert landscapes. So before I can talk about my film work, I have to talk about what I did before getting into film. I enjoy performing a lot, and one of the first things that I did as a performance artist was magic. That's something that I like to do a lot. So that had a lot to do with my entrance into the film world. The idea of mystifying somebody right in front of your face, and them being, completely taken aback by what you're doing was something that was very fascinating to me. So I thought that with film I could do the same thing, but in a much more controlled environment. So this is the first major film that we worked on here in Aruba. It's called Siblings, and it touches on 2 brothers that have very contrasting personalities. If you guys have a sibling, you know that it's kind of a peculiar instance, but you'll grow up in the same household, you'll have the same parents, and you still manage to be completely different. So that was something that fascinated me, and I decided to explore that with a narrative here. The project that we did after that was called Back of Beyond, and we shot all of this with very limited resources, so we had to, they say independent filmmaking is you beg, you borrow, and you steal. That's pretty much what we were doing. So that was a great experience. It really taught me to fight for what I want and work with any resources that are available, because it's not easy. It's not easy, as you were saying. Yeah, it's very difficult to do that here in Aruba. So we had unprofessional actors, not unprofessional, but first-time actors, I'll say. So that was a difficult thing to work with, but we managed to power through that and come out of that successfully. With this film, I started kind of becoming more aware of what I wanted to do visually with my style. With my earlier work, I feel like I was still growing up, and I spent most of my formative years here in Aruba from the age of 14 to the age of 18. So kind of living in this landscape and going to school, having like an hour-long bus ride through Savaneta and all of these places with mountains and kind of desert landscapes was very interesting to me, because in El Paso and in Texas we have these massive deserts, but there's no water around. So that's something that I really enjoyed about Aruba and decided to try and capture on the screen. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. So yeah, another still. Yeah, this is Roy. He's a very interesting fellow. He's 57, I think. He looks 70. But that's why, if anyone wants to talk about the process of getting him into character later on, I'd be happy to discuss it. I feel like it's inappropriate to do it like this. So I'm going to show you a very short an excerpt of this work that I did. This is the first thing that I did as soon as I got back to the U.S., once I was in school. I took a break for about a little more than half of a year, and then I jumped back into film with this. So I'm going to show you all. Can we kill maybe one more light? Or can I? Thank you. Sorry, one second. I think the speakers. There we go. Third, doesn't matter. Enter. I think it's coming out of this for some reason. There you go. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Sorry about that.
¿Qué haces hablando con el vecino? ¿Qué haces hablando con el vecino? Dime, ¿qué haces hablando con el vecino? ¿Andas de volado o qué? ¿Eh? ¡Veme a los ojos cuando te hablo! Bien sabes que si alguien se entera que no tenemos papeles, nos va a ir muy mal. Me va a ir muy mal a mí Y a ti también. ¿Ok? Ey, ey, ey. Oye. Oye. Te quiero mucho, nena. Mira, yo te amo. Soy tu padre. ¿Te vas?
Luz. What happened?
So yeah, the film is a lot longer. That's just an excerpt that we put together. So yeah, I started when I moved back to El Paso. That city is right next to Ciudad Juarez, so it's like there's a lot of immigration issues. You live in a city that's very mixed culturally. You have a lot of people from Mexico and a lot of people from even the northern U.S., so it's very multicultural. And yeah, this was a film that we thought about touching. We thought about talking about immigration for a little while. For a while, I felt like I was kind of obligated to do that. And then people started saying, you know, oh, so you're going to make films about immigration and how you feel that it's very unjust and your people. And then I thought, that's actually not what I don't want to do that, you know. I don't want to be a filmmaker that's like typecast or just put in a mold and like he's going to make films about Mexican immigration. So now I'm trying to break out of that, but it's a little tough because of the next project that I've chosen to do. So yeah, this is a great film to work on. So after I finished working on this film, I started getting into photography a bit more, which is how I kind of had originally started to get involved with film. And I saw a work of a series of photographs taken by a photographer that I admire a lot, Mike Brody, and he decided to, in 2004, quit his job and go and hop on trains with people, with train hoppers, kids, adolescents. And I was really fascinated by the photographs that he got. This is very illegal, by the way. So you have, you know, this really interesting lifestyle, these people living on a train. So I got into 35 millimeter photography after going to Austin, and I decided to start photographing my life every day. So I started messing around with that a bit. I want to work into 16 millimeter this coming semester. So here are a few pictures that I've taken. And yeah, again, very obsessed with Western landscapes. So after a while, I thought I need to come up with something more. I'm kind of leaving film. I'm sticking to photographs and stills too much. So I thought, what if I told a story about people on a train? And at the time, there was this big controversy about, you know, the kids that are coming from Honduras and El Salvador, and they get on this train and they go up through Mexico and into the U.S. So I told a friend of mine, I said, hey, this is an awesome concept for a film, and if we can get really dynamic characters to go on this journey, then it'd be a very interesting story to tell. So we started working on some concept art for the film. And the film would go about a 12-year-old girl and her younger brother who's blind as they journey through Mexico and try to get to the United States. So again, I went back to that immigration ordeal, and I wasn't too proud of it, but then I thought about it, and I thought that it's kind of part of a greater piece. So I started a campaign in Austin talking about human rights and the fact that everyone's entitled to live somewhere if their conditions call for it, yeah. So the thing that I did, this was about August, September, and I was in a relationship at the time that was kind of reaching its point of no return, I'll say. It was kind of decaying, so I decided to document a lot of time that we spent together and see how it would decline. I felt like it was past saving, so this was the first time that I did something with film that made me think of it as a cathartic medium where you can express yourself and also kind of make it therapy, yeah, like therapy. So this is my ex-girlfriend, and I shot for about a month, and then I think there was a week when my professor was like, "Hey, you haven't turned in any work for the class, and you have to, have no dialogue, 5 minutes." And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" So I decided to piece all of the footage that I'd gotten of us together, and I put it all together and I submitted that, and they very much enjoyed that. They thought it was an interesting experiment. After that, I'd been realizing that there were a couple of things that were a little strange about college. I hadn't been to such a big university in a while. So I started realizing that a lot of guys, they're kind of preying on women in college. So I made a film called The Fox. And this goes about a guy who's kind of, the metaphor is, foxes are very smart when they hunt. So I thought about taking that and embodying that into a character and then making this guy he's always kind of lurking and looking for women to prey on. And that's something that I'm not too proud of. Not that I'm proud of not making this project, but something that I wanted to comment on. So this was the film. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I've worked on since then. Sorry. Go back to this. And I'm planning on discussing a little bit of the Amerindian displacement here in Aruba, what happened. So I'm going to be going to the caves, Guadarikiri, and I'm going to be filming all of those caves and incorporating objects that in some way represent colonialism here in Aruba. So that's the plan that I have for the exhibition. But yeah, aside from that, that's my presentation. Yeah. I feel like I was up here a very short amount of time. Any questions? Do you have one? Yeah.
Yeah, you say you were busy with the concept of immigration.
Uh-huh.
We did it twice now, the second time.
Yeah.
That storyline you're busy with.
Mm-hmm.
I say keep on going because you say immigration, you talk about Mexican-American border,
Mm-hmm.
but it is universal.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
And the whole thing is serious. So keep on going because it has to reach a certain crowd of people that we are working with, but a lot of people are not working with.
Yeah.
Keep on telling that story because
Yeah.
it's important.
Thank you. Yeah, the film right now is it's in pre-production, and I tried to make a feature-length script out of it, and it was a hard time because I just started school and I underestimated the amount of time it was going to take away from me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm shortening it and making it into a short film. Use that as a proof of concept to find investors, because yeah, money's difficult to get. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're asking me if I'm thinking about moving into more abstract Work? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that I'm still very naive in terms of what I can do with the camera and the way I go about telling a story. I know that there's so much more I can do and that I need to do. Yeah, so I can definitely see myself moving into that, yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. I ask you to some refreshment in the canteen and an afterward party, but please walk slowly because I have to go for ice. So I'll be right back.